Welcome back. How was tea? How was tea? I'm sure you all enjoyed it and have also taken the opportunity to mingle around, seeing friends you seldom see. Alright, now you must be full of energy for the coming session. So listen closely and you'll be glad you did.
This morning, our distinguished guest speaker is Mr. Mark Chatterton, who will share with you a unique closing technique that will induce your customers to say yes at the end of every sales presentation. He has been working on this technique for the past 16 years in the offshore financial services industry. We present to you Mr. Mark Chatterton on effective closing every time.
Morning! So many people. Okay, thank you for the introduction. My name is Mark Chatterton. As you've just heard, I am one of you. I have been involved with financial services for 16 years, but in the offshore world. Started my career in the UK in the beginning of the 80s, selling life assurance, knocking on doors. Then I moved into offshore investments and has been doing for the past 16 years. This is my home. I've been here for about 10 years. My wife is Malaysian, my family is Malaysian, and I consider myself a born-again Malaysian. And I can't see you. Has anybody got sunglasses? When the economy hit bad here in 1998, I had nothing to do because the majority of my clients were expatriates. So I was invited to go to Africa for a couple of years, which we did, myself, my wife, my children. We moved to South Africa and had some fun over there. When I was traveling around Africa, people used to say to me, Mark, where do you come from? And I said, I come from Malaysia. And they said, you don't look Malaysian. So I said, have you been to Malaysia? They said, no. I said, well, we all look like this. We're tall, handsome, no hair. I'm a typical Malaysian. So if you get more visitors from Africa now, it's my fault. Can you all hear me okay? Are you having fun? No, wrong answer. Are you having fun? Can I just check something? Are you salespeople or are you librarians? Salespeople are supposed to be excited, they're supposed to be motivated, they're supposed to be noisy, aggressive. Are you having fun? Thank you. That's better. All right, my talk today is about something called LACPAC, L-A-C-P-A-A-C, which is a very specialist close that I developed and used in my sales career myself. Now, this close enabled me to qualify for $1 million round table 5 times. Those of you who don't know what $1 million round table is, please come and talk to me later. But it means you're dead good, which was me. But before we get into that, I'm going to talk about the whole sales process initially, just to give you some context of where it fits in, etc. In our time this morning, I've got about an hour and a half. We don't have long enough to go through the LACPAC in detail, and obviously this is not a very good training forum. I'm going to give you the basics, and hopefully sometime in the future we're going to have a chance to go into it in more detail. But I promise you, if you are a professional salesperson, and you consider yourself to be a professional salesperson, this technique will increase your sales closing by a minimum of 55%. Is that worth listening to? All right, we'll go into that later. All right, I was told by your bosses, by the way, that you are the best of the best. Is that correct? That's better. It's nice to see you starting to blow your own trumpet at last. Remember, you are salespeople, and better still, you're selling financial services. So this is the best job in the world. You can make more money than you can possibly dream of. And I'm sure a lot of you have not started dreaming big enough yet. But hopefully after this, you'll start seeing a bit bigger. Raise your goals, raise your heights. Being a professional salesperson gives you complete 100% freedom. And the nice thing about freedom thing is that you can then do what you want to do. You can choose who you want to see, you can deliver what you want to deliver, you can work how you want to work, etc., etc., etc. You are in control. If you're employed and you're working for a company, you don't have that control. So we're all the same thing. I joined life assurance 16 years ago for 2 reasons only. Number 1 was to have a lot of fun, and I have done. and number 2 was to make an extraordinary amount of money. Fortunately, I've done both. But you never stop making enough money, would you agree? How many people here are happy with their last paycheck? Okay, good start. How many people would like to earn more? How many people think they're capable of earning more? How many people are not going to put their hand up no matter what I say? All right, trick question here. If you think you are capable of earning more, then why are you not doing it? Okay? Bosses take note. All right, let's move on. Can you all understand what I'm saying, by the way? Am I clearly? I come from Manchester in the UK, which has got a rather famous football team. Anybody heard of Manchester United? Anybody heard of Manchester City? All the City fans can leave the room now. You can go and see the Mandarin class, because I don't want you here. I only talk to United fans. I grew up, my hometown is Manchester, and I grew up about 3 miles from Old Trafford. So United is very close to me. Anyway, that's football's later. First part of the sales process is prospecting. You all know that. This is not going to be new to you, but I want to put it into some context. I think the sales process has got 5 definite parts, and it starts with prospecting. Prospecting is very, very simple. If you take care of the input, the output takes care of itself. What I mean by that is, if you see enough people, you will make a sale. Would you agree? If you keep on seeing people, you will make sales. Would you agree? Also, you can train a chimpanzee to sell. If you give a chimpanzee an application form and he sees enough people, will he come back with a sale? The law of averages says he will. Eventually, he will find a sale. Long, long time ago, in 1985, we had an experiment in the UK. We tied an application form to a dog and let him loose in the streets of Manchester. Did he come back with a signature? You're all afraid to answer now. I'll tell you the answer later. Anybody can sit down with enough people and make a sale. You don't need talent for that. The skill is the skills you learn over the years to see less people to get the same sales, or more importantly, you see the same number of people and you get more sales. But it starts with prospecting. Please give me an honest answer. How many people here, hand on heart, enjoy prospecting? How many people here think today, wow, today I'm going to prospect and I'm so excited? Do you get that? Or do you say, today I'm going to close, I'm going to get a check, I'm so excited? Which do you prefer? The majority of salespeople, professional salespeople, do not enjoy prospecting. I do not. Because what do we have to do to prospect? What do we have to do? We have to work. We have to put effort. We have to talk to people, phone them, email them, call them, stop them on the street, whatever it may be. Prospecting is difficult. Very few people enjoy prospecting. If you do enjoy it, then you will be the top people. Top salespeople are always very good prospectors. Show me a good prospector, I will show you a wealthy salesperson. Show me a good closer, but a bad prospector, you've got a broke salesperson. Because you could be the best closer in the world with the best techniques in the world. But if you've got no one to close, how much money are you going to make? Zip. So prospecting is important. What is the next number 2? Anybody ideas? What is the number 2 of the sales cycle? Do you know? Once you're prospected, what do you do next? Hello? Hello? Remember, there's only 2 Matt Sellers in this room. And I'm one of them up here on my own. So please play along with me. What is after prospecting? First appointment or the fact find? Yes, very good. During the fact find, we ask questions, we build rapport, you get to know your client. Is that correct? Can you sell your client something if you don't know them? Of course you can't. To do best advice, you have to know your client well. Right, this morning, I'm going to be speaking about a closing technique called lap pack. But I truly believe, hand on heart, the closing is done in this section. Anybody would disagree with that? Do you close at the end or do you close at the beginning? When do you think? Who thinks the beginning? Who thinks the end? Who doesn't care? Okay. We'll see. Number 3, second appointment, the presentation. You've done your fact find, you've met your client first of all, you've done your fact find, you've found out all about them, what they want, what they desire, what they care about. You then go back, maybe for a second appointment, and you give the client what they ask for. If you sell your client something they don't want, what's going to happen to the policy? If you sell your client something they don't want or don't need, is that deal going to stay on the books? No, you're going to lapse. You're going to get a bad lapse rate in the future. So it's very important to sell the client what they need. Now I know you know this, and I'm going over old ground, but it's important to put it into context. Spend time on your fact find. Spend time asking and finding out what the client wants, what he likes, what he dislikes. You have half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour to understand this other human being you've never met before. If you don't know them enough, you will not find out what they want, therefore you cannot give them what they want. Let me ask you a question. What do people buy first? What do people buy first? Needs? No la. Think again. What do people buy first? Say that again over here. Stand up. Stand up. Stand on your chair. Shout that word. People. People buy people first. Before you became a salesperson, what were you? Don't say loser. Before you became a professional KL Mutual sales agent, what were you before that? What were you? Come on, think about it. What were you before you joined KL Mutual? Sorry? Say again. Homo sapien, or you were a human being, or you were a person, weren't you? I assume you didn't come from Mars and join KL Mutual, unless KL Mutual was recruiting in the outer space, I don't know, maybe. So people buy people first. You were a person first. You're still a person now. A lot of us join life assurance, or they join financial services, or they join sales, and we change into something else. How long have you been selling? How long have you all been selling? Since the second you were born. The minute you came out of your mother, or a test tube, I don't know, wherever it came from. The minute you came into this earth, you were selling yourself. And you've been selling yourself all your life. Hopefully, all you're doing now is using those same God-given natural skills and making money out of it. So people buy people first. That's very, very important to do that. So when they see you on your fact find, you sell yourself, they sell themselves. You find out about them, then you can go away and find a product or products which they require and they need, and hand on heart you believe they need, therefore they'll buy it. If they buy something they want and they need, how long will they keep it for? For as long as possible, yes. For the duration of the policy, or until something happens. So you have good quality clients. Next one. The fourth part, closing. That's what we're going to talk about later. I'm going to skip over this. But the sales close should be a formality. If you spent time in the fact find, if you spent time finding out what they want, their needs and their desires, and if they bought you as a person, then the close should be as easy as that. But if you leave your closing until the close, often it will not work. How many people here close 10 out of 10? Anybody? 9 out of 10? 8 out of 10? 1? I'm assuming you're somewhere between 1 and 8, otherwise you won't be here. The close is a formality. Now the skill I'm going to show you later, the tool I'm going to show you later, is if all else fails, you use it then, and we'll go into that in a second. But the close should be a formality. I'll explain more later. What is the 5th part of the wheel? What is the last one? Say again, I can't hear. Service. Very good. Servicing is the part where the client does the work for you. When you go meet a client for the first time, you spend a lot of time with them. You chase them to get the deal. You chase them to get the check. So many salespeople, as soon as they've got the check, they stop chasing. And then all the promises you gave your client are forgotten about. That's what gives us a bad name. It takes a bit of time to understand this. It took me about 3 years when I first started to understand that the servicing part of your process is potentially the most valuable. Why? Why is servicing so important? Apart from keeping your promises, why else is it important? Say again? You get referrals, which means what? More business, more deals, etc. Once you've been in the industry for about 3 years, 4 years, and you have a reasonable sized client bank, in theory, you should never have to prospect for a new piece of business. How many people here have been in the business longer than 3 years? Put your hands up, please. How many people longer than 5 years? 10 years? Whoa, some very old people. 15 years, like me. Anybody longer than 15 years? There's a hand over there. I can see a little hand. The nice thing about having no hair is that you can't see your grey hair. I'm actually very old, but I don't appear that way. Servicing is vital because clients phone you for business. So those of you who are new in the industry, it can be difficult to understand how servicing can help because it appears you're doing lots of work and there's no checks coming in. But in the future, that was the way it will work. Business will come to you. Over the past 16 years, I've got about 2,500 clients in 17 countries with an estimated value portfolio of about 35 million sterling pound to look after. The only way I can look after those people is if they phone me for business. It's impossible for me to look after 2,500 people in 17 countries. I can't travel over the world all the time, it's impossible. But I service them because I look after them, I keep my promises, and they call me for business, which makes it a lot easier. There's no finer feeling when you get a phone call first thing Monday morning, and it's your client saying, please come and see my friend, he's got 100,000 ringgit to invest. Would that make your week good? Is that a great way to start a week? If you service, that will happen. But when you're new, it's not going to happen because you haven't got clients. So prospect to begin with, but ultimately, this is where the money comes from. Service your clients. All right, that is the sales process. That's how it works. Prospecting, first appointment, second appointment, closing, servicing. All 5 are important. All 5 need the other 4. However, I believe, and in my experience, to build your business successfully, to make more money, and to qualify for $1 million round table, keep your promises. Because the best sort of business is a what? Appointment. Which is better, a cold or a referral? Referral, because it's already warm, because they're going in there on a recommendation from a friend, hopefully. Therefore, it's a better sort of business. You will close more referrals than you will close cold appointments, obviously. All right, that is the sales process. We're not here to talk about that. I'm just going to rush over it. I want to speak about something else. Who wants to close some more deals? Nobody? Okay, bye. Who wants to close more deals? Not enough. Next question. Who wants to close a lot more deals? Hello? Can't hear you. Come on, you're going on convention tomorrow. You're supposed to be excited. It's like speaking to a room full of undertakers. I've got this rule in my career. I don't speak to dead people. Because it's very bad on my CV. What you do in my CV, in my bio? 9th of May, 2001, spoke to dead people. It doesn't look good. So please, stop being dead. Right, I'm going to have a drink of water. All right. Get this out of the way first of all. What I'm going to give you is a close which will guarantee you only one answer. And that answer is a positive answer, which is yes. The only answer the client can give you is yes. No, no maybe, no I want to think about it, no I want to talk to my wife, no I've got to speak to my accountant, no I want to talk to the dog. The only answer they can give you is yes. What that big said in red letters there is a warning. Because you must only use this technique if all else fails. So you get to the end of your presentation, you're doing your close. You say, Mr. Client, can I have a check? Can you sign here? What's your IC number? Whatever you do for your close. And he or she says, I'll give you a call. I want to talk to my wife. I want to see my friend. I want to talk to the cat, or whatever. Do you get that sometimes? As far as you're concerned, you've done a good job. As far as you're concerned, this client should be now giving you a check, or his credit card number, or whatever it may be. But for whatever reason, they don't. I've been there, you've been there, we get it all the time. And there's two things left. You can start to cry, or you can beg. Neither are professional, and they don't look very good, particularly if we cry. Ladies, it's okay, but we cry, it looks silly. So what do? You say, okay, and you leave. How many times does the client then phone you afterwards? Do they call? If you leave that room, are you going to get the deal? No la. Ti dat bo le la. It's gone, isn't it? So you use this if you've got nothing else to lose. Well, the cautionary thing here is please, please, please be careful. Because as you're going to see, it is very, very powerful. And if you're not experienced, and if you're not comfortable with your sales ability, please do not do this. This is serious, but it's important, because you will definitely lose the client, and some bad things will happen to you. Jail, that sort of stuff. No, I'm joking. It's perfectly legal, I promise you. However, caution is important because it is very, very strong. However, if you get it right, as I mentioned before, it will increase your closing dramatically. Now, so let's go through it. Black Pack, a 7-stage selling sequence for handling residual mismatch. What I mean by residual mismatch is you are here, your client is here. You're never going to close. You should be together. You should be in bed together, metaphorically speaking. You should be together. If you're not together, you're never going to get a deal. So you are now here. He's up here, you're down there, or wherever. There's something wrong. You don't know what it is. They do, but they won't tell you. We've already dispensed with crying and begging, because that's not professional. You could use violence, not professional, because they're going to cancel afterwards. So there's nothing you can do. If you walk away and say goodbye, you will never see them again. So this is all else fails. And this is hopefully to remove this mismatch. So ultimately, you'll be together, you get a happy deal, you get a check, you get commission, and so on and so on and so forth. Okay, let me go through this. The first one, the L, stands for list. Now I'm going to do this for you in a second. I'll go through them, then I'll show you how it works on the flip chart. The second one, the A, stands for ask back. I'll explain them when I finish. I'll just go through the whole 7 first. So you've got list, you've got ask back. Number 3, you have clarify. You have to make things clear. Number 4, you have pre-close. How many people here know what a pre-close is? Anybody know what a pre-close is? No? Who knows what a pre-close is? Put your hand up. There's one hand over there. Is that it? 800 people? One person knows about pre-closing? Okay. Prepare to be amazed. Answer and abandon. Answer the question, get rid of it. I'll show you in a second. Number 6, ask back. Again, you have 2 ask backs. That's the second A. Oh, sorry. And the last one is close. So list, ask back, clarify, pre-close, answer and abandon, ask back and close. That's what LACPAC stands for. 7-stage sequence. And we're going to go through them one by one, and I'm going to show you how it works. So nothing fancy, very straightforward. It's a systematic way of closing a client down, piece by piece. Are you all with me so far? Anybody want to sleep? Not yet? Who said not yet? Even Matt Sallies have feelings, you know. We get hurt. Especially older ones like me. All right, it starts with an opening statement. So when your client says to you at the end of the presentation, I want to think about it, you reply with these words, and only these words. Mr. Client, it's usually because they are unsure of 1 or 2 points. So when my clients say to me, they want to think about it, it's usually because they are unsure of 1 or 2 points. Wouldn't you agree? Now, straightforward sentence, but a number of things in there are helping to relax your client. Because at the end of the presentation, when your client says no, they are very uncomfortable about saying no. Would you agree? Most people want to be happy. Most people want to please other people. Most people want to make you happy. Your client is under a bit of pressure now because he knows you've worked hard. He knows you've tried hard, but he's something he's not happy with, or she's not, or they're not happy with. But they're uncomfortable with that. So you're saying that sentence. When my clients say to me, first thing, so you're saying to them, other people say this as well. You're not on your own. So straight away, he's a bit more relaxed. Because he now knows he's not on his own. Other people say that, and it's quite normal to say these things. So they're a bit more comfortable. Secondly, you're agreeing with them, they want to think about it. Yes, they do. So you're agreeing. And then thirdly, it's usually because they're unsure of 1 or 2 points. Wouldn't you agree? Now, what's his answer going to be? He's going to say yes, isn't it? Because he is unsure of 1 or 2 points. He doesn't want to say them particularly, but he's not happy. So giving him that sentence, you're letting him off the hook, and the pressure is off. You say that sentence, you will see your clients relax. Those of you who understand body language, the barriers they have before that will start to come down, and they will start to relax slowly. Because you're telling them he's not on his own, other people do this, and it's no big deal. So he's starting to calm down a bit, which is the first thing. So you must say that sentence, opening statement. Wouldn't you agree? Yes. Second one, this is where the list comes down. Let's write them down so that we can both see what we're talking about. So what you do now, out of your briefcase, or out of your folder, you take out a clean notepad. You know, an A4 notepad? Preferably with no lines, like this. Not this big. Big briefcase. You take out an A4 size, preferably one of these artist pads with no lines on it. You don't want any distractions because you're going to draw some lines yourself. So get a clean piece of paper. Who's got a pad? Anybody got a pad? Can somebody give me a pad? Anybody got an A4 pad? Well, give me a piece of paper. Thanks. So you sat down with your client. You say, let's write them down so we can both see what we're thinking about. You get your A4 pad out. You get a pen. You put your pen to your paper, and you do nothing. You sit there. And you say nothing. You shut up. What's the hardest thing for a salesman to do? Shut up. It's difficult. But if you understand the power of silence, you're a far more powerful salesperson. put the paper on your pad or your table, you put your pen ready, and you shut up. Don't speak. Hold your breath. So what do they have to do? They have to speak. First one who speaks is the what? The loser. You've said this. Let's write them down so that we can both see what we're thinking about. So that's the last thing you've said. You got your paper ready, you got your pen ready. So what's the obvious thing he has to do? He's got to speak, and he has to start speaking about what? The things he's unsure about. He won't suddenly start talking about cricket, will he? Be silly. So you're ready, but you don't talk. And he says, so let's have some examples. What's a typical thing a client will say no about? Give me a typical objection. Give me an objection. No money. Okay, cool. So we have can you see here? Can you see over there? If I do here. You can't see, then throw something at me. So you put number 1. No money. My apologies, I'm going ahead of myself. I forgot something. On the pad. You write down 13. And you make sure he sees you writing down 1 to 13. So by doing that, what are you saying to your client? What are you expecting? 13 objections. He might have 2. He's thinking, oh, no big deal. You're expecting, you've already told him everyone does this. You've already told him other clients do the same thing. And then you've wrote down 13. As though you're expecting 13 objections. He has 2. All of a sudden his 2 problems become what? Insignificant. He's thinking, I need 13. Think of 13. I've got to think of 13. He's trying to think of 13 things to tell you. You can't. He's only got 2 or 3. But you write them down, 1 to 13, and just under your breath, don't speak it, but whisper it so they can hear you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just so they can see you. Just audibly, a little bit. Down to 13. You get to 13, then you do that line. Why do we do that line? That's it, finished. He's only allowed 13. Any more, cannot. Tidak boleh. But you've told him a number of things here. So it's a psychological breakdown here. You want to see how it's working? Slowly. You've told him no big deal. You've told him you're expecting it. You've also told him by doing 13, you're expecting a lot. He's only got 2 or 3. Are they going to have 13 objections? Of course not. Give me another one. No money, what else? Wrong timing. So time. Give me one more. No interest. Okay? Can you see here? Is that okay? My apologies for my back to you. No interest. Right. So let's list them down so we can both see what we're thinking about. That's the L. You made a list. And just wait. Any more? Now, next one is the A. Remember what A was? Ask back. Mr. Client, is there anything else you wish to or you want to think about? He's given you 3 objections. What's the answer? Is there anything else you want to think about? If he has any more, he'll give you them. If he hasn't, what's he going to say? No. What do you think you do next? You bring the line back. What is that line doing? What's the line say to him? No more. That is it. Finished. You've asked him, is there anything else you want to think about? He may give you another one or whatever. If not, no. You draw a line and make sure he sees you drawing the line. Right across the page. This is what I'm saying about being an empty pad, no lines. It's better with these drawing pads. From end to end. No gaps. Right across the page. There is no more space to go down. He cannot suddenly think of 4, 5, and 6. He's only got 3. Okay, with me so far? So this is the A part. You've drawn your line. What was the next one? Clarify. So what do you do? What do I mean by clarify? Mr. Client, this is my understanding of your questions. So one by one, or your objections or whatever it may be, you go through every one to make sure they understand that you understand what they understand. Does that make sense? So you're telling them, your client, exactly what you think he means. Because sometimes he might say this, and you might think this. Would you agree? Miscommunication. So make sure clearly that he knows that you know what he means. And you go through every single one. I mean, they're quite obvious. No money, no time, no interest. Simple things. But you clarify them and go through every single point, one at a time, and then check. Is that what you mean? Is that what you mean? This is my understanding of what you're talking about. Is that what you mean? So what you're saying, Mr. Client, is at the moment, the timing is very bad for you to do the investment. Is that what you're saying? Yes, it is. Okay, fine. What you're saying, Mr. Client, at the moment is, at this present moment in time, you do not have 1 million ringgit to invest. But you might have next week. Or whatever. You clarify it in your mind, but more importantly, he must understand that you know what he means. Does that make sense? Hello? Yes. Thank you. Don't sleep yet, the best bit's going to come. Right, we're up to the C. What's next? What's after C? Alright, this is the bit that nobody understands what I'm talking about. A pre-close is very simply what it is. It is a close before a close. You remember I said to you before about closing should be a formality. This technique I'm giving you is an if all else fails technique. However, if you, during your presentation, you do or you deliver pre-closes, then when you get to the very end, the big close will be a formality. Somebody give me an example of a pre-close. Think about it. What could you say that would qualify as a pre-close? I've given about 4 or 5 of them so far. Say again? Come and see me again tomorrow. No. If you don't get the check today, are you going to get it tomorrow? You've got to do it now. Give me a pre-close. Think about it. What can you say to help your big close at the end? So I can't hear you. Go to the microphone and speak if you can, please.
It's a commitment.
Commitment. How? What would you say? You can't just say commitment. What little phrase can you... I've given you about 6 so far. I pre-close all the time. As a salesperson, as a speaker, as a trainer, whatever, I am always pre-closing whatever I do, either in selling or presenting or whatever. What can you say that's a pre-close? Sorry? No? Easy. Even easy. You're going too... Stop thinking complicated. Anybody ever heard this phrase KISS? K-I-S-S. What does KISS mean? Keep it simple, stupid. If you get complicated, all you're going to do is confuse who? The client. So don't keep it simple. Stop being complicated now. Think of something simple that you can say that will act as a pre-close before your main close. Let me show you something. Let me just use this. Would you agree a sales presentation is like a journey? Would you agree? It's got a start, it's got a finish. And hopefully, you and your client should be going on this journey together. Is it a straight line? Does it go straight up? How does it go? Something like this. Would you agree? It's never a straight road, is it? The journey is always backwards, forwards, up and down, sideways, whatever. Sometimes, if it goes well, you get here together. You start together, but you don't always finish together. Somewhere along the line, your client gets lost, and they don't close. Is that right? So, if we do pre-closes during your journey together, close there, 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 close there. Every time you do a close, the client is saying, so far, I'm happy. Does that make sense? So, he said to you here, I'm okay, I'm fine, I am okay, I understand, yes, that makes sense, I like that, I like that, I like that, I like that. So that when you get to there, and he said that your last pre-close, which I'll give you in a second, he said to you there, I'm okay, but then he says there, I'm not okay. Where's the problem? If he said at your last pre-close, I'm happy, then your big close, he says, I'm not happy. Where's the problem? In that last section. That is all. But if you don't do pre-closes, and you get to here, how do you know where on the journey you've gone wrong? You don't, do you? It could be somewhere at the beginning, it could be the end, in the middle, it could be anywhere, it could be a number of areas. So a pre-close is where you test the water by asking something like, does that make sense? I've said to you now 6 times, 7 times now, does that make sense? That's a pre-close. Are you with me so far? Can you see how this will benefit you in your future? Can you see how this will enable you to pay for your school children's education? It's a question that requires an answer. If they say yes, it means that that part of the journey, they're okay. Does that make sense? Pre-close. Get in the habit, well, we're not going to talk about pre-closing here, but I want to explain what pre-close is. Get in the habit of just testing the water as you go along. If you don't do that, you get to here, he says no, you don't know where you've gone wrong. But if he says yes there, but no there, there's a problem there. If he says yes there and yes there, but no there, there's a problem there. Can you see that? Hello? Thank you. So that's a pre-close. Very simple, very easy, little technique which just helps you. That's what I mentioned before when I was doing the process, that the close is just a formality. And it should be. But it's very hard to get it into your mindset, particularly if you're new. We rely on closing a deal at the close. It is not closed at the closed. It's closed during the presentation, during the journey. But if there's something wrong at the end, you know it's only that small section that's gone wrong, then you only have to go back a short distance. Does that make sense? Pre-close. Alright, so question is, Mr. Client, if I can answer your questions to your complete satisfaction and you are 100% happy, can I assume we are in a position to proceed? What's the answer? What is the only answer? Yes, because you've told him, most of my clients have problems. You've told him he's not on his own. You've told him that if we can do something about it, he's going to be like the rest of the people. You made a list. You checked every point of the list to say, this is what I think you mean. You then draw a line and said, is there any more problems? He said, no, there's not. Then you come to this, the pre-close. And you've said this statement, Mr. Client, if I can answer all your objections, all your questions, to your complete satisfaction, and you are 100% happy, can I assume we, always speaking of we, in a position to proceed? The only answer he can give is yes. Would you agree? Unless one thing, what? Well, 2 things actually. No, not no money. He is either lying or he's not genuine. Do you want a client that lies? Do you want a client that's not genuine? So you can't lose. So if you feel, hand on heart, that this is a good job for your client, if you feel that you've done a good job for your client and this product or product you're trying to sell them is the best for him or her or them or the family or whatever, then you use this. And you continue going through it as long as you're sure they're truthful and they're genuine. If people are lying to you, you can't get past that. It's one of them things. Ultimately, if you take on a bad client, what are you going to get in the future? Problems, hassle, you don't need it. Grey hair, everything. You should be in a position to be able to choose the clients you want, which is nice if you can do that. So, this is the fourth part, pre-close. Anybody confused? Yes, no? Do you think this is valuable so far? Pre-close. You have to, sometimes they're very subtle, you have to be careful. Right, next one. Which was the next one? Answer and... Not ask back, that's the next one. Answer and abandon. Answer all the questions or the objections, one by one, and then confirm one by one that you're happy with the answers. So you answer the objection. Whatever, no money. To your best of your ability. Then you ask the client, Mr. Client, does that satisfy your question, or are you happy with my answer? Two things he can say. What? Yes or no? If he says no, what do you do? You continue to answer the question until you've completely answered it. When he said yes, I'm okay now, that makes sense. What then should you do? Before you move on, you should do something which is very, very important. Say again? Abandon. What do I mean by abandon? You get your pen out on the piece of paper and you physically rub it out. Make a big mess. He's got to see you rubbing it out. By doing that, what are you telling him? It's gone. Finish, you put it to bed, you can't come back with that later. So you've answered it and you've abandoned it. You've removed it from the piece of paper, scrub it out. You know, like your children, they go like this with a pen. Do the same. Make a big mess, as much as possible, dramatic. Because he sees you doing this, but more importantly, he sees that's gone. You can't come back with that later. You've answered it. He's said to you, yes, I'm happy now, and you remove it completely. So it's gone for good. You then do the next one, time, whatever it may be. Same process. You answer it, and you check. Mr. Klein, are you happy with the answer? Does that make sense now? If he says no, keep on answering it until it does make sense. There is no time limit on this. I've done LACPAC in 15 minutes. I've done it in 6 hours. So there's no time limit. You keep on going until your client is what? Happy. Now this is not strong arm. This is not foot in the door, high pressure. It's a systematic removal of their doubts. All you're being is the ultimate professional. That is all. By closing them down slowly, as long as you're happy with them, piece by piece. Now there's no pressure involved. It can seem like pressure, but it's not. Don't be nasty, don't be aggressive. You could be an aggressive person, you could be meek and mild. It doesn't matter, anybody can do this. It doesn't matter what character you are. It's just a professional way of closing down and removing their doubts. As long as you are happy that this policy or this investment is best for them. So each one, once you've finished it, you check if they're happy, you remove it. 100%, it is gone. And you keep on going. If he has 13 objections, go through one piece at a time. The one that took me 6 hours, I think the guy had 11 objections. This was in the Middle East in Dubai, long time ago. It took me 6 hours to get this guy to close. This was 12 years ago, and he is still a client to today, after 12 years. That one person has earned me a total of about 150,000 sterling pounds over the years. Not just this one deal, it became more deals, referrals, and so on and so forth. If I'd have given in, if I'd have accepted his answer by saying, I'll give you a call tomorrow, I'd have lost a client, and I'd be £150,000 less. But more importantly, I've got about a dozen more clients from the Middle East because of that one person, because I will not give in. Ever. We spoke before, when your boss was up before, speaking about failure, and what he said was very good about being able to accept failure. Sometimes in Asia, we don't like to accept failure. Failure is good. Why? You learn. If you meet a professional salesman who says to you they've never failed, what are they? They're a politician. Professional liars, the same thing. I take that back. Sorry. I have failed, I have fallen over more times than you can possibly imagine. The amount of time I went home when I was living in the UK to my wife in England and said, that is it, I can't do this no more, I want a real job. I'd come home, I'd get drunk, I'd cry. Every morning, I woke up, I had a shower, put my suit on. Why? Because I'm stupid? No, because you just keep on going. I make mistakes. I still make mistakes. I don't know what the ratio is, probably 1,000 to 1 of mistakes as opposed to successes. Every time you fall over, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, you learn from it, and you make it better. Failure is good, it's cool. But if I'd have given up on that client, as I said before, I'd have lost other clients, I'd have lost money, self-respect, and whatever else. I'm sure you'll realize by now, everybody you meet is going to be... I'll just pull my own teeth out. Excuse me. All right, moving on. What are we up to? We're up to A, answer and abandon. So you keep on going through the objections. One by one, you check, are you happy? Yes, and you keep on going. Till it's completely finished. It could be more, doesn't matter, however it may be. You're never going to get 13. I had 11 or 12, I don't think what it was, the most I've ever had. On average, you know yourself, 2 or 3. Most of the objections they have are silly little things. They're not particularly major issues, are they? Most of them can be handled. They just think it's a problem. You've got to calm them down. You know, the journey you work together, it's about being a partnership with your client. You hold their hand and you take them where you want to lead them. Or you should do. So, answer and abandon. What's the next one? Ask back. Mr. Client, have I answered all your questions to your complete, 100%, very, very happy satisfaction? What's the answer? What's the only answer? Has to be, isn't it? Because you've worked him through this process, but there's nowhere else to say. If he suddenly says here, to that question, have I answered your question to your complete satisfaction, Mr. Client? And he says, no. Then what do you do? What do you do? Pop cow. You go back to your list. But if he's being genuine with you, and if he's honest, if you've gone through everyone, you've checked everyone, you've abandoned everyone, there's nowhere else to go. He cannot say no when you get to the A part. Ask back. But you're asking back again. You ask back twice. You're always confirming all the time. Does that make sense? Pre-close. Hello? All right. What's the last one? The cowboy there's for no, just coincidence, by the way. I'm not saying you're a bunch of cowboys. Close, you ask for the check. There is nowhere he can go. You broke them down systematically, professionally, there's no pressure, nothing. I can tell you this though, it's highly unlikely you're going to meet somebody who knows Lackpack. I remember a long time ago, I was seeing a guy in Switzerland, I think about 1990. He was a Swiss guy, and he said to me, "You're going to do Lackpack on me." Because he learned another version of this a long, long time ago. And I said, "No, I'm not." He said, "Yes, you are. You're doing Lackpack." "How do you know?" "So I just know." So we started laughing, and he actually became a client, but he'd heard of it as well himself a long, long time ago. It is a close, as I mentioned before, I promise to you, will give you success. Well, can you also see, those who have experienced, how dangerous this can be? Do you think that's easy? Seems easy. And it is once you get used to it. But like everything else, when you learn something new, you must do what first? Please do not go out when you come back from Seoul and start doing this on the first person you meet. Because it is too soon. It has taken me a long time to learn this and develop it and make it better. However, practice it in your training sessions, do some role plays with your family or your colleagues. Practice doing the whole thing. Drawing the lines, putting the paper on, the piece of paper on your knee, all that. If you miss a section, it won't work. If you say different words, it won't work. If you miss out pieces, like if you use lined paper, it's not the same. You've got to draw the lines. Clean pad, like these artist pads. When you ask for the objections, pen ready. Don't talk. Wait for them to say something. He who speaks first loses, etc. When you're in a presentation, when you're meeting with a client, no matter who that client is, who is in control? If you're sat down and you're speaking to Tantri Rashid Hussain in his office, unlikely I know because he's a competitor, but let's say. You're in his office selling him a KL mutual policy. Who's in control? You. Always. No matter who you're seeing, no matter who important they are, in theory, whatever, you are still in control. In their office, in their house, in a bar, in a coffee bar, it doesn't matter. Always your presentation. You take control, you lead them to where you want to go. This journey, you're holding hands, you're together, but only one person must lead. That has to be you. Hopefully you should know that by now. If it's not, what's going to happen? If you're not in control, what will happen? You're going to lose. No sale. Heat up full leg. Right, so that's Lackpack. Let me go through the whole thing again, very quickly. List, ask back, clarify, pre-close, answer and abandon, ask back and close. You start with the opening statement. What's the opening statement? What's the first thing you say? First thing you say, apart from help. Mr. Client, when my clients say to me they want to think about it, it's usually because they're unsure of one or two things. Wouldn't you agree? Ask back the question. He says, yes. When you do this for the first time, watch their body language. You will see a visible relaxation. They will go, you'll see the barriers come down because they're under pressure. When they said no to you, they're under pressure just as much as you are. You're disappointed, they're under pressure. By saying you're not an odd one out, by saying everyone does this, it's no big deal. You then make a list. You get your piece of paper ready. Let's list them down so we can both see what we're talking about. Pen, paper, on your knee, on your desk. Clean piece of paper, nothing else, and just wait. They have to respond. This could be 2 seconds, could be 15 minutes. Don't say a word. Please, if you speak then, go home. Because you've blown it, you've lost it. Don't talk. Wait for them. Make a list. But remember, before you make your list, what do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So very quietly. Don't speak it, just mumble it. But make sure they can hear. Down to 13. and then the line across. Well, he's thinking, oh, wow, so many problems. So straight away, he thinks you expect all these problems. He's got 2. He's thinking, good, no big deal. He's already deciding in his own mind, this is no big hassle. Because you're expecting 13, he's got 2. And he's trying to think of more problems, because he thinks you want more problems. But he hasn't got any. Then you clarify. Are these all the points you want to discuss, or whatever you want to say? Yes, draw a line, as we did here under number 3. Right across the paper, no gaps here, no gaps there. Right across. That is telling them there is no more problems. You cannot have, Mr. Client, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. No more. Clarify you understand what you mean by it, so he knows you know what he means. That is very, very important. That prevents miscommunication, but more importantly, he sees you are doing what for him? What does he see you doing for him? He sees you working for him because you're trying to help him out. You then pre-close. What do you say? Mr. Klein, if I can answer all these objections, all these questions to your complete satisfaction and you are 100% happy, can I assume we are in a position to proceed? Answer is what? Yes, has to be. You then answer them one by one, you go through them, you check. Have I answered your objection? Are you happy with that now? Does that make sense? Do you see what I mean by that? Yes, you cross it out and you physically remove it. You must remove it. Make a big drama of that, crossing it out like a child. Next one, same thing, answer it, ask back, are you happy with that? Yes, cross it out. Next one, same thing, answer it, are you happy with that? Yes, cross it out. And you keep on going for as many as possible. Then we answer the last ask back. Mr. Klein, have I answered your objections to your complete satisfaction? Answer is what? Yes, it has to be. There's nowhere else to go. What can he then do? What's the only thing he can do? Give you a check. Credit card, whatever it may be. Okay, KL Mutual, can you use that? Please, please, please remember, and I can't stress this enough, do not, if you are new in the business, do this without practice. If you're new in the industry, less than 3 years, please practice this on your seniors. Understand how it works. Try it on the dog, your wife, somebody else's wife, we don't care. Don't go out there on your own, because this is the equivalent to giving a child an M16 rifle. If you don't know how to handle it properly, it can do an awful lot of damage. To you, to your company, to your credibility. More importantly, you're going to frighten these people away. They're going to run screaming for help. I promise you they will do. Practice it. Those of you who are experienced, been in the business longer than 5 years, hopefully you can see, with a bit of practice yourself, you can take this skill. You think of all the clients that you were there and there's nothing you could do, and the business you lost. Think about the situations you were in. If you tried this technique on them, could you have closed them? I would think your answer would be at least half. Because remember who just said before, if they're not your client, whose client are they going to become? Somebody else's, to prove. Gary. Or RHP or anybody else. You have lots of competitors in this industry. This is a cutthroat, tight business to work in. If you don't get them, somebody else will get them. Everybody becomes somebody's client at some point. So think of the cases you could have had. Could you have closed them with this skill? I would say about half you would have done. I'm not guaranteeing you 100%. That is impossible. But I promise you, with this technique I first used and developed 16 years ago now, I would not have qualified for $1 Million Round Table so many times if I'd have given up too easy. But it helps. All right, we're about. In fact, no, we're early. You want to sing some karaoke now? I can do a dance for you. Do you want to come up here and do it? I haven't finished yet. you want to come up here and do that? Should we do some role playing? No. All right, any questions? Please stand up. Good, go to the microphone. Thank you. He was first? Sorry. Don't go away, I'll come back to you in a second. Is that microphone working? I cannot. Is it switched on? Oh, is that me? Come here then, there's one here. Does that one work? Should I come to you?
Can you see me?
I can see you.
Yeah.
Can you see me?
I can see you.
And the Matt Sally on stage.
I'm Masala.
Matt Salah.
I'm Masala.
Selamat pagi.
Okay, my question is, I've given an appointment. That shows that he's interested. So he gave me only 15 minutes. How to close the sales?
So you went to an appointment and the client or the prospect, is this a new prospect or an existing prospect?
New one.
New one, so the first time you've met?
Yeah.
And he says to you, you got 15 minutes, show me what you've got.
Yeah.
You get that sometimes? He sat there behind it, was he in the office?
Yeah.
Was he a businessman?
Yes.
Okay. So he sat behind his desk, arms folded, he says, right, you got 15 minutes, go. Do you get that sometimes? I will tell you what I would do. Second, you tell me what you should do first. What should you do? Can you do a professional presentation in 15 minutes? Can you, yes or no? Who says yes? What did you do, by the way? Where have you gone? Did you try in 15 minutes or did you give in? What did you do? What did you do? And what happened? Is he a client? Sometimes okay. How long do you need to do a good presentation? Half an hour. What did I say before about being in control? Who's in control? You. Is that always the case? Why? Were you in control there? Stand up again. Were you in control? I beg to differ. We'll see. You talk all the time. That's not always a good thing. No matter who you're seeing, no matter what the environment, you are always, always, always in control. Now, there's many ways to gain control, and we haven't. I don't know. We'll see. Let me just answer the question first. Then I'm going to cover control for a second. But you've got a question over here. Don't let me forget, please. You cannot do an effective, professional presentation in 15 minutes. More importantly, when somebody has the attitude like, right, impress me. Is that the right attitude from the client? Are they genuinely interested in what you're going to say? No. What are you just another one of? You're just another salesman disrupting his day. He's trying to be a smart ass by saying things like that. He's seen it all before. He thinks he knows more than you. He's trying to be clever. Is that correct? What I would say is, bye. Thank you. Have a nice life. And I walk away. Remember I said before about being in control and also choosing who you want to see. Very often, going back to the process here, so many of us don't like prospecting. Therefore, we do not have enough prospects to see. How many people here see 10 people a day, 5 days a week? Anybody? Do you see 10 presentations a day, 5 days a week? Is that possible? Who says no? How many hours in a day? 24 hours. You've just said your presentation lasts half an hour, right? So 10 presentations at half an hour each is how long? 5 hours, Therefore, you've got 19 hours to spare. Are you sleeping for 19 hours? Therefore, in theory, you can see 10 people a day. In theory, would you agree? You don't, I appreciate that, but you can do. Now, if you're prospecting the right way, you're losing referrals because you're servicing your clients, you choose who you want to see. When I was purely selling on the road all the time, I used to see 8 people a day, 4 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. This was back in Manchester in the old days. But for those 4 people in the morning, I used to book in, guess how many? 12. So my 8 appointments in a day was actually 24 appointments in a day. Because I'd have 4 in the morning and I'd triple book them. So when I confirmed my appointments in the morning, I could do what? I could choose who I wanted to see. And I would star rate them. 3 stars. So a 3-star was a prospect who said, that is a great idea, please come and see me, I've been looking for something like that. That's a 3-star. A 1-star is that guy who says, if you're in the area, call in. Is that a good appointment? No, it's not. So you then choose who you're going to see on your 3 and 2 1 stars. I would choose my 3 stars. If 3 stars couldn't make it, I'd go for the 2 and then to the 1. Well, I'm picking who I want to see. If somebody was like that to me, I wouldn't even waste my breath. I wouldn't give them a card. I'd just say, Mr. Client, unfortunately, I do not have time to waste my time with people like yourself. I'm a professional and I require 30 minutes minimum to do the best job for you. Makes sense? 2 things are going to happen. 1, he will say, I'm sorry, my apologies, a bad day, please come and sit down. What have you then got? 1-star becomes a what? 2-star. Or he says, get lost then. What have you lost? You lost a bum client you don't need in the first place. But so many of us do not have enough prospects to see. We have 1 appointment in our diary for the week. You're laughing, but I can guarantee you, some of you out there have had weeks with 1 appointment. I swear on my children's life that's correct, because I've done it myself. If you're in that state, you don't have the choice. So you go and see jerks like that, who waste your time, who may or may not sign up, who are difficult, they're a pain in the arse, there are going to be problems in the future, but more importantly, they are in control. So if they say that, just say, Mr. Client, I'm very sorry to hear that. I'm a professional. I need 30 to 45 minutes to do a good job for you. Goodbye. Have a nice life. Bye. If they apologize, great. If they don't apologize, you've lost nothing. So back to the first question here, or back to the first process. Have enough prospects to speak to. If you haven't got enough prospects, if you can't choose who you want to see, when you want to see, you haven't got enough. The nicest thing to have as a professional salesperson is the choice. I mentioned that before when I first started speaking about choice. If you've got a choice of people to speak to, you're in control. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? Hello? Have you gone? Where have you gone? Have you gone home now? Is that a good answer? Thank you. There was a question over here. Who is it? There's a lady over here standing up. I can't see. Don't be dictated by clients who are a waste of space. Please. How many people in Malaysia? How many? 20 million. You have enough to spare. You get 1 jerk, get rid of them. Your question.
Yeah. You said people by people.
Yep.
So how do you sell yourself? What do you say in the first few 2-3 minutes before you start your sales presentation?
Okay, good answer. Question was, people by people first. So how do you sell yourself before you start your presentation? This is how I sell myself. That's it. Smile. When you meet your client or your prospect for the first time, when you meet them very first time in their house or their home or their office or whatever, what is the first thing you do? How long have you got to make a first impression? Vary between 3 seconds and 20 seconds, whatever it may be. A short period of time. So when they see you for the very first time, before you even open your mouth, they see you. Is that correct? They see you first before, because light travels faster than sound. So they see you first. Then you're going to say something, hopefully like, good afternoon, my name is Mark Chatterton, KL Mutual, pleased to meet you, or something like that. Is that correct? And you do what? You go like this? You go, give me 5. You shake hands, obviously. You make the first impression visually, auditorily as well, by speaking, by a hand gesture, which is a shake of hand, a firm handshake, and you're starting to build what? What did we say before? Rapport. You're building rapport. This is how you sell yourself. If you go in to see somebody immediately and start showing them a list of products, is that building rapport? No. In the old days, we used to call it brief pleasantries. You spend some time getting to know human being. You meet somebody at a party for the first time, what do? Introduce yourself, ask what they do. Talk about the weather, talk about the traffic, talk about anything. Just enter into conversation to break the ice. It can be 2 or 3 minutes, it can be 5 minutes, it doesn't matter. But you start building a conversation with another human being, first and foremost. You don't start talking business straight away. And that's how you start selling yourself. If they don't buy you, will they buy the product? Highly unlikely. They may do, highly unlikely. But if they bought you, and they trust you, and whatever you're selling, invariably, they'll take your word for it and they'll buy it. Does that help? Does that make sense? I mean, building rapport is another program, another course, it's a skill which we have, but often we don't use it effectively. But talk about another time. Does that answer your question best we can do in the time allowed? Any more questions? Please stand up, I can't see. Why are the questions coming from this side of the room? What's wrong with you lot over here? Are you shy? Are these the qualifiers on this side, and you're just the losers? Okay, question please.
Okay, my question is, as you have said that when the client has he says no, and then we take a paper and say, okay, we will take a clean sheet of paper and shut up, right? We are supposed to shut up.
Yes.
And what happens if the client of mine also knows the phrase that the one who speaks first is the loser, and he also shuts up? What can I do about that?
Good question. If your client has been at one of my training programs, you're in trouble. It is very, very difficult to control silence. Extremely difficult. If you just don't speak for a minute can feel like a day or longer. It's like your entire life flashes before your eyes. It is difficult, I appreciate, not to speak, but you must not speak. That is hard, but you must not. They have to break first. This can be a minute, 5 minutes. It can be an hour. I'm serious, I don't care if it's an hour. Don't break. The longer it goes on, the more control you have. But don't start fidgeting. Don't start going. Keep your poise. Remember, you're a professional. You have your pen and your paper. Don't stare at them, because then it becomes a battle of will. Just be professional, keep quiet, look at the space on the ground, think about something, but don't speak. It can happen. I've gone on, the longest I've been is about half an hour, 45 minutes. Honestly, that felt like 15 years. I felt like I had 2 birthdays in the middle of it. It was so long. But the longer it goes, the better control you have. Don't quit. 45 minutes is ridiculous. It's never going to be that long. It might be 2 or 3 minutes, which feels like days. But please don't break. They have to move first. Anything where if you can control pauses or silence, as a speaker, as a salesperson, it is so scarily potential, frightening. If you can handle it and do it, it is phenomenal. But it takes time to practice it. You hear professional speakers. You watch your Prime Minister or your ministers on TV. They use pauses. Because that's how we as professional speakers teach other people to be professional speakers, by using pauses. Emphasize a point, shut up. That hangs there. And then when you ask that question before that, putting the paper out, it's got to hang there. And they know you're expecting something. Don't speak. But if it is long time, don't quit. Don't say, you think about it, I'll come back in a while. I'm just going for a wee-wee, I'll come back, don't move. Don't do nothing. You're dying to go to the toilet, just don't. You cannot go. Does that help? It is one of the hardest things to ever master, is to master silence. Particularly because we want to speak. I know salespeople should listen more, but it's not always the case. We still want to talk, but don't. And don't smile at them. Because you're going to laugh. If you laugh, you've lost it. Just be completely cold-faced, professional. Not like a statue, but just... And don't sing or hum or whistle. Very bad. All right, any more questions? We've got 5 minutes left. Yes? Jail, imprisonment, death, violence. When I caution that you're there, what I'm saying is that hopefully by seeing this for the first time, if it is the first time you've seen it, you can see that in the right hands, it is a very, very powerful tool. I likened it to an M16 rifle. It is. It's a scary thing to learn, but it is a very, very accurate and very powerful tool if you understand it and use it in the right context. If you don't understand it, or you use it in the wrong context, or at the wrong time, or you use it every close, which is silly and a waste of a good tool, or more importantly, you get the sequence wrong, or you say the wrong words, you're going to lose your client for good. That's all. I mean, the worst thing that's going to happen is they're going to throw you out. That's all. They're not going to start attacking you with a baseball bat and things like this. It's not that bad, but you're going to lose the deal. But at that point, you've already lost it anyway. Because as you've already agreed, once you leave the house, you're not going to get the case, or highly unlikely. So it is a last, if all else fails, close, but still, my caution really is more to practice it. Please don't just take what we've done today and go out after Seoul and start doing it. Spend some time in your branches with your colleagues, role-playing and practicing it. When I do lap pack in a training course, actually a training for lap pack is a full day program. Breaking it down even more so, doing role plays. It took me a full day to learn it, and I've been doing it countless times over the years, but it takes time to get it right. Worst thing will happen is they'll just throw you out. Because it can appear to be aggressive, it can appear to be heavy-handed, not foot in the door salesman type thing, which you don't want to be. You're supposed to be professional, and if you use it with practice, you will remain professional. Does that help? Any more? The technique I use for prospecting, you mean? Say again. What sort of technique do I use to make my first appointment? You mean, so how do I prospect? Okay. How do I find them, or how do I make them? Okay, cool. We're trying to find out here. Question is, I've got a list of prospects, and how do I make the appointment? By the telephone or whatever means. Okay. I arrived in Malaysia almost 10 years ago. I had no company, I had no leads, I had no contacts. My first time in Southeast Asia. I arrived on Merdeka Day, so there was nobody around. I didn't know anything about your country, I didn't know anything about your culture. I just got on a plane from Dubai and arrived here. That was it. I've done that now in 4 or 5 countries. I enjoy the excitement of just being here cold. Now my clients were always expatriates, not local people, because I'm not licensed to sell to local people. And how I'm prospected was always through social prospecting. I would never prospect cold on the telephone initially. I used to do, in the old days when I started in life assurance in the 80s, the rules in them days was that all the appointments were in-house. We didn't go out to see clients. Clients had to come to us all the time. So these 4 people I'm seeing in a day, I had to invite them into the office. At that time, the management would not allow us to go and see clients out in the field. So those days, we had long lists of telephones, and we spent all day on the telephone, or in the morning anyway. So that's how I did it. But I don't like prospecting on the telephone, because I find it is A, soul-destroying, B, very demoralizing, hard work, and just a waste of time. I would rather go and see people face to face. So when I came here, initially in the beginning of the 90s, I just met people socially. Now, as you know, for Matsalis expatriates, what do most Matsalis do? Drink! We have a bad reputation, Ian. We're not all like that. So, if you remember in the beginning of the 90s, when the traffic was particularly bad and loads of construction everywhere, most expatriates who were working in KL at that time, between 5 and 7, they just used to go to a bar. They'd either go to a gym and keep fit, or they'd go to a bar. And at that time around KL, there's like Kathy's Bar and them sort of places, Brannigan. There was loads of expat bars around in them days where expats would just go for a beer or a drink and a chat on the way home because traffic was so bad. You either sit in a jam for 2 hours or you sit in Kathy's Bar for 2 hours. That's how it worked. So I got to know all these bars, and I was living in the Concord Hotel when I first came here. I lived there for 7 months in the Concord, which was next to the Hard Rock, also where the expats go. And I spent every evening between 5 and 7, 5 days a week, going around bars. And I'd go into a bar, obviously my clients were expats, so they stick out. Malaysian, expat. So Malaysian, cannot touch, expat, can touch. I'd go and sit next to a white guy and say, "Hi, my name's Mark. What do you do?" So if I ask the question to you, "What do you do?" what do you say? "I'm an engineer." What's the question you're going to ask me back? "What do you do?" "I'm a financial advisor." They either go, and they run away, or they say, "That's interesting, tell me about it." And I just started, same as we said before over here about building rapport and people by people, I sold myself socially first of all. But I never, ever, ever spoke about business. Why? I never sold anything in a social environment. Why? Why? Because it's not professional. Sat in Kathy's Bar or the Hard Rock or wherever it may be, trying to sell an investment policy, is that the right environment? Of course it's noisy, obviously it's not confidential, and so on and so forth. I'd meet somebody, we'd have a chat for half an hour, a couple of drinks, and they'd say to me, "Tell me some more." And I would say, "John, I'm tired, it's 6 o'clock, I've been doing this all day, I don't want to talk business. I've come here for a quiet drink, don't bother me. Give me your card, and I promise you, I will call you in the morning and we'll set something up. Is that okay?" What are they going to say? Because they've gone there for the same reason. They're tired, they've had a lot of hassle, they want a quiet drink and relax. They're there for the same reason, they can relate to that. You open the door, you dangle a carrot. "I'm a professional financial advisor, I can do this, this and this and this." That's it. And he says, "Please tell me more." "No, I'm tired, I want a drink." "Well, give me your card and I promise you I will call you in the morning and we'll set a meeting up. Is that okay?" He says, "Yes." No big deal. Having a few drinks, then go home. What's the worst thing you can do? Exactly, spend all night with him. Because then he's going to have a drunken financial advisor, not professional, or whatever it may be. So politely excuse yourself and go to the next bar. Do the same thing again. That's all I did. I went around all the bars doing the same thing. I had a bunch of, when I got home, I had a bunch of cards. The next morning, I phoned them up, as promised. Please don't break your promises, because they wait for your call. You phone up and say, John, hi, it's Mark. We met last night in the bar. Oh yeah, thanks for calling. Promised you, calling as promised. When can we get together? Get your diary out, make an appointment. That is no longer cold. He's seen with you, he's had some drink with you. Why is he doing that? Excuse me. We're checking viruses here. Go away. Anyway, so it's no longer cold. You go and see him, the appointment's already warm. Does that make sense? Okay. We are 3 minutes over time. Am I okay with time? Where's BK? Hello. Are we okay? One more question. Any more over here? We've had some over here. I can't see. Oh, sorry. My apologies.
What's your solution to lack of activity or no activity?
Death. Fire them. What's my solution to lack of activity or no activity? This is an honest statement now, and this is me being honest. I find it quite difficult to be self-motivated. I do. I was quite fortunate in my sales career that I got success very quickly. I made a lot of money very quickly, and I became, in my field, quite a star in the UK very, very quickly. Well, my previous job, I've had 2 jobs in my life. Professional salesperson and musician. That is it. When I left school, I was a bass guitarist. Long hair, earring. Yes, I did have hair once upon a time, down here. A long time ago. I left school early and joined a group and I became a professional musician. But when I joined life assurance, I got the same kick out of selling as I did of being on stage in front of an audience playing a guitar. So the same thrill was there. Closing a deal was just as exciting. But I find it difficult still to this day to motivate me. Because I got success quickly, easily, it was also very easy for me to play around. You remember when I said before about making money and having fun? I made lots of money, but I also had lots of fun. And because I was a good salesperson, I knew I could catch up. When I was selling and I had a manager, if I wanted a day off, I'd make some appointments up. Do you do that? Of course you do. We all do it. I would tell my manager what he wanted to hear. He wants to hear, he'd say, Mark, what have you got on today? I'd say, Steve, I've got 10 appointments. He'd say, well done. No, I hadn't had 10 appointments. I was going to the beach for the day. Mr. John, Mr. Smith, Mr. Brown, Mr. Green, Mr. Blue. That's my appointment, Steve. He'd say, well done. Now, who's more stupid, me or him? All I'm doing is deluding myself, that is all. But because I could get away with it, because I could catch up, because I always hit my targets, me being a bit of a smartass myself, I just used to play the field. However, activity is always a problem when you're a self-employed or you're a professional salesperson. Because for most of the day, you're on your own. And there's so many things out there which is often more fun than prospecting. Like going to the beach, or sitting in a bar, or taking your girlfriend out, or taking somebody else's girlfriend out, or boyfriend, or what. Don't go into that. The only way you can increase activity is by yourself making the commitment to be more active. That is all. Prospecting, as we mentioned before, is a difficult thing, and it's often not as exciting as closing the deal. So make the prospecting more fun. That's why I used to do social prospecting. If I were if I knew I had to sit in a hotel room in a Concorde and make 100 appointments or make 100 phone calls, I wouldn't do it. But if I knew I could go around all the bars and meet 100 people, I enjoyed that. More fun. So try and make your prospecting or your activity more exciting to do. Do it together. Do it in groups. Do it in teams. If you spend all day on the telephone, making appointments, cold calling, invariably you will fail. Because it's soul destroying, it's hard work, demotivating, and it's horrible. It can be done, it's a cheap way of prospecting, but it's not that exciting as going out there and meeting people. KL is full of people to talk to. All the time you meet people, but how many people stop to talk to them? How many people here during a week go inside an elevator? You go inside lifts? When you get in a lift, are there people in there? Do you talk to them? Why? Where are they going to go? You go into an elevator, what do you do? What do we do? All of a sudden, you get fascination with shoes. Oh, I've got feet. Where'd they come from? I've got 2. 1, 2. Or you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nobody talks to each other. Why? I go into an elevator, I'll say, hi, my name's Mark. They go. They're trying to squeeze into the corner of the elevator. Because people don't do that. Why? Prospecting. You're in a supermarket. You're queuing up for your food, shopping trolley and care for. Other people. If they're buying food, do they have money? If they have money, can they buy your products? So can they be prospects? Do you talk to them? No. Why? They're in a queue. They're going nowhere. They have to queue. They don't like queuing. You don't like queuing. Waste of time, waste of life. So make some profit out of it. Speak to the person in the queue. Hi, my name's Mark. KL Mutual. How are you doing? They're not going to run away because they're in the queue. Makes sense. How many people here go on aeroplanes? Do you go on aeroplanes? Some of you are going to go on an aeroplane this week to Seoul. I used to fly a lot long-haul flights because I've got clients all over the world. I used to go on these flights 10, 12, 15 hours. A jumbo jet, 300 people, best place in the world to prospect. You're on a plane, a big silver tube, you, 300 prospects with nowhere to go. Nowhere to hide, they can't get off, they can't all go in the toilet. I never get bored on long-haul flights. You either sit there and you get drunk, you eat the food you don't like, or you see films you've seen 10 times before. Or you stand up and you talk to 300 people. Makes 13 hours go like that. The amount of deals I've closed on or appointments I've closed on airplanes is scary because there's nowhere else to go. And I say they can't all fit in the toilet. Use your environment that you go in every day to make prospecting more exciting, therefore your activity will increase. You're doing the same old thing. Hi, my name's Mark Chatterton, KL Mutual, can I come and see you? On the telephone. Boring, 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 mind boring. Make it fun and make some money out of making it fun. It becomes easier. I remember a long time ago, my old sales manager, Peter Knowles, said to me, selling is not a job, it's not a career, it's a way of life. But use your life to make money out of it. Don't ignore these prospects in buses, in trains, in planes, in lifts, in shopping queues, when you go for petrol. Why can't the guy in the petrol station be a client? Can they? They've got a job, they're making money, therefore they could be a client. But you just say, 50 ringgit please, and you go on your way. Why don't you talk to them? Make it fun. Right, we're going extremely late here, BK, aren't we? Can we have one more question or shall we shut up? No more. BK says I have to go home. Right, we're finished. One more thing before I close. I've just given you a close now called Lackpack, which I learned a long time ago. I developed and I made a lot of money out of it. $1 million round table 5 times. However, my company is called Lloyd West. You see there. This is my partner here. Ian, stand up. This is Dr. Ian Halsall, who has his PhD from Cambridge in England, so he's very, very clever. We run a company called Lloyd West and Derry Mahad. We are specialist NLP trainers, neuro-linguistic programming. The company was formed beginning of this year. Now, before I met Ian last year, I did not understand or know about NLP. The tool I've given you now is not NLP. It has a bit of NLP, but it's not NLP. If I'd have understood NLP techniques when I started selling 16 years ago, my 5-time qualification would be 10 times. But it wouldn't just be $1 million round table. I'd have been on the top table in the court, which is serious business. NLP skills as salespeople is scary. And I mean scary, because it takes what you're doing and just makes it better. Ian and I are here for the full day, spending the time with you people, enjoying ourselves, but more importantly, come and talk to us. Talk about NLP, talk to me about this, anything else. We have a lot of experience to pass on, and we want to pass it on. This is our job. That's my sales pitch. Thank you for your time, thank you for your patience, thank you for laughing at the right time. I hope you enjoyed this and it was some value. Enjoy your day and enjoy Seoul. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Thank you very much. Do remember Mark's technique to make an effective closing every time, win the psychological warfare and get that sales. If you all had not had time to walk around the booth, we'd just like to inform you that there are a few booths outside. Among them are the booth for FPAM, the Financial Planning Association of Malaysia, the eBuzz booth, the Dell booth, and Lilian Tu's booth on Feng Shui. So you want to have a look around, you may do so. I know all of you know about the AFP and CFP course. If you would like to take advantage of the conversion, you know the time period is limited, take this opportunity to visit FPAM's booth and find out about the conversion criteria.
Okay, before you leave for lunch, please take note that the afternoon track begins at 1:45 p.m. I repeat, 1:45 p.m. There will be 2 tracks again, but this time both are in English. The first track will be by Miss Lilian Tu on easy feng shui tips to expand income and sales, which will be held right here at this ballroom. And the other track will be by Miss Dolly Key on how to develop personal power, trust and professional credibility, which will be held at the auditorium. Please be reminded that seating at the auditorium is limited and only first 300 delegates will get a seat.
Now we're going to announce the lunch venues. Please refer to your name tags again. If your name tag is yellow in color, please exit to the left. Please exit to the back. Please exit to the back and proceed to the Unity Ballroom for your lunch. There are guides to guide you to the Unity Ballroom. If your name tag is green in color, your lunch venue is the East Garden Terrace. Please exit on my left here, and the people will guide you to the East Garden Terrace for lunch. Please enjoy your lunch.